Serious, family court labors. What's the most petty behavior you've seen from parents? When my parents divorced, I was 4 at the time. My dad told my mom he didn't want custody as long as he could keep their CD collection. That was until he realized how much he would have to pay in child support. He had me 2 days a week until I showed my court-appointed counselor how to tell if you had poured a full shot of whiskey. I don't have much memory of this, but he apparently would take me to happy hour at a local bar and then to pawn shops to look at guns. Full custody was given to my mom, who moved us out of state. I don't speak with him anymore. Upon losing the house because he literally locked my mom out of their bedroom, garage, home office, and shed, my dad decided the house only meant the wood and brick. He took whatever appliances he could fit and, just for good measure, ripped the carpeting out of the bedroom. Or that he tried taking all of the family photos, including the ones of her relatives, without her notice. She only found them because he forgot to lock the office door and I lied about locking it when he called to check. Dong. I'm not sure that this really counts, but during my custody case, my biological mother failed drug tests several times. When asked by the judge why she tested positive for M, she said my father hired Chinese drug ninjas to swap out her test results. Took 3 years after that, but my dad finally got custody of me. This happened to an attorney at the law firm I work for. Husband and wife fighting for custody of 2 children after bitter, ugly divorce. Wife made an account in the husband's name on Ashley Madison to try and show his infidelity in a way that could be presented in court. Husband responded by putting some kind of pesticide in all of the wife's shampoos and conditioners, causing her hair to thin and fall out like she had been picking it. Wife and her new lover, the youth pastor at their church, claimed husband had molested a girl at their church and the girl had told the youth pastor. Husband convinced one of their kids to say the mom had been starving the kids as punishment. Wife has youth pastor light husband's car on fire. Last but not least, the original cause for the divorce. Husband fricked a prostitute, caught chlamydia, gave it to wife. Wife got custody in the end and husband moved to Central America. I've seen clients spend $10,000 fighting over a $100 fish tank. It's often not about what you end up with, it's about what they don't end up with. Parents didn't let a kid get his college education because they were fighting over who was going to pay it. This includes co-signing on the predatory loans that everyone was rushing to sign up for. The judge asked why either one didn't bring this up 6 months earlier when they knew he was starting college. Both of them gave the same answer except from their perspective. Something like the other parent is to blame because they didn't tell the parent about the bills. Apparently both knew about the bills and the deadlines for the previous 3 months and expected the other to pay for it. The case wasn't raised in court until after the deadline for the next semester had passed. The kid probably was forced to take loans on his own. God only knows his situation now. The parents ended up spending the same amount as the tuition each in lawyer fees just for them both to have to pay half the tuition. Never get divorced. Shame no one thought to see about getting the kid emancipated. It takes a lot of the fight out of the dog when their pawn can fly the double bird and finally do their own thinking. In my divorce I gave my ex everything of value and moved in with a friend. During the year-long divorce I rescued a puppy. On the last trip to mediation with the lawyer she tells me she wants the dog. My lawyer shook his head and said that's not going to happen, and she immediately got up and left. On the last court day she didn't even show up, so the judge told me I could have whatever I wanted. I kept the dog and never spoke to her again. Not the most petty, but one I remember. I had a client who negotiated to keep the marital home, but had to make a $40,000 payment to her spouse as part of the deal. I scheduled a meeting in my office to be joined by my client, the adversary, ex-spouse, and opposing counsel. I confirmed with her repeatedly that she was coming to the meeting, and confirmed with her repeatedly that she was bringing a bank or cashier's check for the amount, as specifically directed in the property settlement agreement. Day comes and she's running late. We're sitting around my conference table passing time. A bunch of guys knock on the door to the conference room. They looked like they were movers, from the way they were dressed, and walk in, carrying duffel bags which they set down on my table. Lots and lots and lots of duffel bags. She had taken the money out in singles. Opposing counsel was understandably livid. I informed my client that I would no longer be representing her. Kind of juvenile, but at least she paid. which is a pretty good result. Family law is depressing. Worst I've seen is still ongoing. Dad files emergency petitions every time a new court order is about to be signed because he didn't agree to the terms his own goddamn lawyer set per his wishes. Mum withholds the child from visitation, in contempt of court, if the dad's wife is present at the exchange. As in, she'll pull into the parking lot and if she sees anyone besides the dad, she peels out. Both have filed restraining orders against the other, which they later rescinded. Their last court order was 18 pages long, typically 2 to 3 at most for custody orders, because it is nauseatingly specific about each aspect of their interactions. God help me if I get dragged back into the middle of their case again. It wasn't my case, but I was waiting in the courtroom and heard a divorce hearing. The parties were having trouble reaching a full settlement agreement. The problem? They couldn't agree on custody, but not in the usual way. Each one of these self-absorbed adults couldn't seem to fit the 4-year-old kid into their schedule. I work Fridays, Your Honor, so I can't take him. Yeah, Fridays aren't good for me, either. In fact, I'm usually on call all weekend. Me too, but I have to miss Tuesdays in order to take him already, so she should have to take Fridays off. Broke my heart. I don't know what this says about me, but reading that kinda crap makes me feel like I'd take them. I'll take the kiddo. Poor thing. I already have kids. I don't need more. But frick, that's not cool. Family law attorney here a glorified babysitter. Let's see. One client said that father's visitation should be limited because his girlfriend's shirts are too low cut. Another client was ordered to box up his wife's belongings and some of the child's belongings and hand it over to her. She had him arrested and moved out. When I followed up with him, he said all went smoothly, did as the judge directed. When we get to court, opposing counsel informs the judge, with color photographs, that he boxed up garbage. Literally took garbage and stuffed each box with it. When I asked why he did that, he said my wife only owned garbage. That's what she left behind. Same client, who was actually the worst client I ever had, once threatened to call Child Protective Services and alleged that the mother was neglecting and mistreating their daughter. The problem was that there was a full stay-away criminal court order of protection against him, in favor of the mom and child. I told him that if CPS deems that to be true, his daughter might end up with the state. His response, then so be it. Let her go to fricking foster care. Same guy used to whisper drop dead every time his wife walked by us in court. Many people have paid me thousands of dollars to actively litigate for their spouse ex to pay them $50 to $500. It's a matter of principle, okay bud, whatever you say. People always think that they, via the family court, will teach their former love a life lesson that will cause an epiphany and a fundamental change of that person's character, for the better. As much as I try to tell them, as many ways as I structure the message, I can never convince them that it won't work. That douchebag is still a douchebag, lady, even after a contempt order. He's gonna do it again, because it's in his nature. My friend was getting divorced and he had a daughter whom he adored. She said to give her full custody, otherwise, she'd accuse him of molesting the child. His lawyer told her that if she did that, and the judge discovered she made it up, she automatically lost all parental rights. She backed off immediately. My dad joined the church since he didn't have to pay taxes, which meant he was protected from paying off his debts and child support. He miraculously decided that the church life is not for him 10 years later when my mum coincidentally finished paying off his debts. Still no child support though. Colleague once was in on a huge, multi-hour fight over a lawnmower. Both sides lawyered up. Probably could buy 10 lawnmowers for what they paid fighting over this one lawnmower over hours and hours at $150 $250 per hour per spouse. The negotiation must have been taking place at their home, because at one point she took a break from all the screaming to go to smoke or something and saw said lawnmower, a beat up manual push mower with spinning blades that had sentimental value, idiots. My sister traded custody of her kids in exchange for a new car. Later on she decided she wanted just the 2 girls to come live with her. She didn't want the boy. He asked why he couldn't come too. She said, I don't want you. I don't love you. He went on to become a drug addict, but cleaned himself up. I have not spoken to my sister in 25 years. What the frick, that's horrible. Friends of mine divorced, and dad went a little overboard. There was dad's house stuff and mom's house stuff. When the two boys would go to dad's, they would have to strip down naked just inside the front door, stuff all their mom's house clothes in their backpacks, and don dad's house clothes. Dad would then take the backpacks out to the shed, where they would stay for the duration of the visit. There was nothing from mom's house allowed in dad's house at all, and the backpacks were completely off limits. At the end of visitation, dad would retrieve the backpacks. Their kids would again strip naked, and then reclothe themselves in mom's house clothes, before they went back to mom's. Before mom caught on and sent them with a change of clothes, they would have to re-attire themselves in the same dirty socks and underwear they wore on the way in. Everything was duplicated. There were dad's house and mom's house bikes, video games, clothes, everything. One day dad called mom screaming and irate because Adam was reading a book at mom's house, and was really into it. Dad was peeved because he had to go out and buy a copy of the book. How dare mom buy anything for his son without running it past him first, so that he could purchase a duplicate. The kids would be interrogated every visit. What does mom feed them? Which TV shows were they allowed to watch? What did mom do with you last weekend? You went to a movie? Well, get in the car. We're going to a movie. 2. He was super P at the courts. She was a stay-at-home mom during the marriage, and he gave up the house in lieu of alimony, but kicked child support. After the divorce, she went back to her previous employer and reignited her career, bringing in a nice salary. He was a dentist and made partner in the practice. He applied to the court to lower his child support, claiming that mom's significant income should change the equation. The courts agreed that the equation should change. Alright, seeing as he was making a shitload more money as a partner, he should be paying more in support. So that backfired. All in all, he would take the pettiest little molehill and turn it into a mountain, every time. Family law paralegal. The instance that sticks out. 1. Man and woman going through divorce. They seemed reasonable and agreed on division of everything. The last item was kids. This promoted a full week of argument between both sides. They had 3 kids, 4, 9, and 10, but they both only mentioned Josie when it came to kids. I researched this as none of the kids were named this or anything close. My attorney finally inquired as to whom Josie was. Josie was the cat. These people gave zero fricks about their real children, and were screaming at each other over the family cat. I was at the front desk checking in a woman who had an appointment with a divorce attorney. She was about 10 minutes early. Her soon-to-be ex-husband arrived right on time. He was trying to be polite to her and said, "You look nice today." Without looking up from her phone she sighed, "You look disabled." That was a very weird and petty insult. A cousin of mine, let's call her T to protect her, had a marriage and 3 kids, K, L, and I, with a man I hated so much I think I've intentionally forgotten his name, so we'll call him F4, you can guess, because of this story. Child number 3, I, was born with serious issues that were luckily diagnosed and tended to quickly. She suffered no lasting damage but can't digest normal proteins. No meat for her. Medically, she has a tube in her stomach, and when younger, it had to be through her nose. This made I a pretty cranky baby and self-conscious toddler. In short, they split when she was 2 or 3, and this man, I use the term extremely loosely, petitioned for custody of the kids. Actually, just K and L. T could keep I. Thankfully the judge ruled as any of us would when he heard. Not family court lawyer, but family friend going through custody battle. She was trying to file for full custody, however she's nuts. The couple has twins. The night before it was her day she texts her ex, "Hey, can I just have twin 1? I really can't handle twin 2. She's discussed how she likes one twin more. That twin has coped better with this messy divorce. The other one has definitely shown some behaviors. My mom babysat for the husband who is a close friend when he was trying to figure out his schedule. Good news is, looks like dad might be getting full custody." I still practice law, but not family law anymore. This happened about 20 years ago. The mom and dad could not agree on the color of the sky and had one infant child. They had to exchange the child at the local police station for visitation. While in the lobby, mom hands child to dad and waits until he has the child with both hands, and proceeds to beat on his face with her fists. because he can't defend. She doesn't think that the lobby is under video surveillance. They have the whole thing on camera with her dead to rights. The cops arrest her on the spot and ask the dad if he wants to press charges. He's a decent guy and hems and haws. The cop looks at him and says, "Dude, you will never have as good a chance to get her to stop this behavior than now. You have video. You have 2 sworn officers who saw it firsthand." He pressed charges. She pled guilty to domestic battery. She got anger management as well as some other fines and community service. They never had a problem again over the child and got along fine since. I'm a cop, verified on our Protect and Serve, but prior to that I was a lawyer and clerked for a judge while in law school. I saw the following cases during that time. These are different cases. Parents had alternating weekends. Mother's Day fell on Dad's weekend, and Father's Day fell on Mom's weekend. Father decided Mom could have kids for Mother's Day, assuming she would allow him to have them on Father's Day. Well, they went home to Dad on Father's Day weekend and Mom filed a contempt motion. Kids were getting old enough to decide which parent they would prefer to have primary custody throughout the year. Kids preferred Dad and wished to stay with him most of the time, especially through school year. In divorce decree, Mom was given sole authority over education choices. That is, got to decide where kids went to school. She decided to send them to a boarding school out of state. Mom and Dad had shared parenting. Dad also worked as pilot, so had irregular schedule, and his schedule was usually picked 2 months in advance. So in July he would get September's schedule. So they would pick dates for shared custody 2 months out, after Dad got his schedule. Well, scheduling changed and now Dad would only get schedule 1 month out, so in July Dad got August's schedule. It was several months worth of litigation before that sorted out. As a cop, I see the following things regularly. One parent is allowed to pick up kids after school, so they have custody at, say, 3 p.m. But other parent is in charge during school day. So basically other parent comes and picks up kid at 2:30 because they are permitted to do so then. Pickup time is 6 p.m. Parent is running late and arrives at 6:10. Parent refuses to hand over children because they are in violation of shared parenting agreement. Now the one I see a lot with divorces involving police officers a lot is the other parent will file for emergency custody and protection because the other parent, who is a police officer, keeps guns in the house, even if the only gun is the duty weapon. These motions often win early and take several months to resolve. In the meantime, one parent is only allowed supervised visitation away from his/her own home. As a new dad, that boarding school story is absolutely heartbreaking. My parents got divorced a year or so ago. During the mediation, my dad refused to let my brother get his license to drive himself and our youngest brother to school. Instead, it was agreed that I would take them to school during the weeks they were with my mom, every other week, which I wasn't thrilled about because their school is 25 miles away from my mom's house. My dad then demanded that he would only agree if it was added that I have a medical marijuana card and I was not allowed to smoke the day before or day of driving them. My mom's lawyer promptly had that removed. She said having my name associated with marijuana in a legal document, legal medical state or not, could possibly have a negative impact on me for life. The attorney said she was confused how it was relevant. Real stand-up guy, my pops is. Fight about a taxidermied dog, personal property, zero objective value. Husband has it, both want it. At a temporary order hearing, parties ask for a decision as to who has temporary possession of the taxidermied dog. Family court commissioner orders that wife gets to hold on to the taxidermy dog. For now, a date time is set for the parties to exchange it. After the hearing, husband goes home, burns the taxidermy dog in the fireplace. Parents had an ongoing battle over their kids' clothing. Both were angry at each other for keeping their clothes for the kid. This is more common than you might think. Anyway, my client went to an exchange at Dunkin' Donuts, and mom made the child go to the bathroom and strip, including underwear, and get into the dirty clothes my client had sent the child to her with, rather than allowing dad to take the clothes that belonged to her. You can bet that we used that at our next evidentiary hearing. I am the employer for a mother who is going through child support hearings. She has retained sole custody of the children for more than 10 years and finally was awarded child support. The ex-husband has not paid and is instead bringing charges against said mom for unfit parenting. claiming the children live with him and pursuing her for the child support instead. Yes, this is happening. I am now tasked with responding as an employer and character witness, although happy to do it for her, to prove that she does not travel for a living and leave the children, teenagers, to fend for themselves nightly. Child of divorce, and if parents would actually look out for what is best for their kids instead of trying to sabotage each other, this world would be better. I hope I am never a family court judge, because I would insist on crazy stuff to get my point across, and all children would have a court appointed lawyer that looked out for the kids, not trying to get parents to agree to a deal. When mom and dad shared joint custody, mom went to the child's daycare and told them I, stepmom, was not allowed to pick up the child. I had to get the police involved. As long as dad had me on the list and there was no restraining order, I was allowed. Mom also got extremely mad when dad found out who her kindergarten teacher was. Again, they shared joint custody. Got a matter at the moment. Act for the father. Every time the father does something that the mother doesn't like, she withholds the children. Mother wanted to take the children out of the school they had been since kindy and move an hour away. Father didn't agree. Father doesn't get to see them for 3 months whilst we get proceedings on foot. Prior to that father hadn't agreed to some other silly demand, so she withheld the children for another 3 months. The father is currently suffering from bowel cancer as an added bonus, so whether he will pull through and how long he will have left with the children is a serious issue. The family courts, at least here in Australia, are extremely slow beasts, underfunded, under-resourced, and getting anywhere when one parent is completely unreasonable is extremely difficult. One of my former cases come to mind right away. I represented a mom who, despite my constant advice to the contrary, was constantly trying to get the dad arrested to improve her position in the custody battle over their 2 kids. Before I took her case, she had successfully obtained a restraining order against the dad. I later strongly suspected her allegations were fabricated. It became apparent she had not gotten the restraining order for safety reasons, but rather to harass and frick with the dad. On one occasion, the mom convinced her teenage babysitter, whom she later confessed to being in a sexual relationship with, but that's a whole other story, to call the dad, frantically claiming that one of the kids had stopped breathing. The babysitter told the dad she had called 911, but they had not shown up yet. The dad, understandably panicked beyond belief, rushed to the mom's house to try to save his child. What he was unaware of was the fact that the mom had planned the whole thing and had herself called the police and said that the dad was threatening to come to her house to harm her. When the dad arrived at the house to try to help his child, the police were already there waiting for him, and he spent the weekend in jail for violating the restraining order. Later the same week, the mom paid a relative to plant drugs in the dad's car while she tipped off the cops, in hopes of getting the dad sent to jail and losing all custody and visitation of the kids. Fortunately, the relative got cold feet at the last minute and confessed the plan to the dad. To this day, that was the only client I ever dropped due to their morally repugnant actions. Stepmom here. My girl's mom accused the dad of sexually abusing the child because she was humping the floor. She was like 1.5. Fought me multiple times. Took the kid out of state and thought she'd get away with it. Went to court and he won full custody. Mom didn't even bother to show. Later said that she gave him custody. My favorite, when the child support order calculated to $19 a month to pay her. Back when they had joint custody, she would settle the case for $50. What does $50 get you? I guess it helped with her grocery bill. But she got food stamps, and they shared joint custody. He got none. She also claimed the kid on her taxes almost every year, even once he got full custody. Didn't even buy her a Christmas gift or BDAY gift. She then proceeds to tell the dad that as long as she is in your care I do not need to provide for her. Hypocrite. A long time ago, friends' parents got divorced. I remember my mother telling me that the divorce agreement stated that as soon as the ex-wife made $X week, she worked as a substitute teacher for years. Finally found a perm position when the kids were older. The child support would drop by X%. Ex-wife assumed that meant only for the week she had the higher income. Nope. Permanent. I remember my mother saying that the ex-wife had a horrible lawyer. The ex-husband had a long affair, which brought about the divorce. Although looking back now and meeting this woman as an adult, I seriously wonder if the ex-wife was trying to act straight and the husband was like, nope, out of here. No real idea, though. As a cop, nothing turns normally friendly people more vicious than child custody arguments. Too many times it becomes more important to get back at the other person when it should be about their child. I've seen some crazy freaking crap including, but not limited to, coaching children how to lie about dad mom beating them or claiming sexual touching by the other person's new girlfriend boyfriend. I've heard them make up stories about the other person using drugs violating the law, ranging from assault with a deadly weapon to expired registration, claiming kidnapping when they leave the county for the day or keep them 10 minutes later than on the court order. And what makes me the most upset is when I had a court order requiring permission for the other party to leave the county without the other's permission. The dad pre-planned months ahead of time and bought a fully paid for, couple-day trip to Disneyland for his kids. It was even worse because his family wasn't well off, so he had to struggle and save for the trip. The mom calls 2 days before and says he can't go. Obviously, dad's upset. They fight and call me. I'm required to follow the judge's orders to the T, so I can't explicitly tell him to go. But I didn't really condone it. I never heard back, so I'd assume he didn't go. Peas on my mobile. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.